Delegate Bridges. Man, it's so much of a blessing and a privilege to have you here with us today. You've been a long-time champion in Baltimore. Your voice has been a presence just as a civilian and a person that's been, long time, pushing for, causes in the Edmondson Village area where we're both from, right? That's where we connected when we first met, coming from that area. We know that you've been putting some good roots in the Park Heights area as well. Tell us a little bit about just your journey as a man of Baltimore, as a student, as a guy growing up. What were your interests as a young man?
Yeah, so for me, I've lived all over Baltimore City, right? You said I've been in Park Heights, been in Edmondson Village, been in the East Side. My journey has been a couple of different schools and different programs, and even moving on and going to Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, which I always like to plug. But for me, my journey, especially in the arts, my most vivid memories are about the arts when I was in elementary school, right? Of course, you have all those other subjects that you always have, whether it's English or math or social studies, but I can vividly remember my parents coming to see me when, I had to be in the front of the stage, playing the drums for my music class. Or if there was a program where, I was dancing or holding hands with a young lady and, being so young, you shaking your head saying, no, this is not my girlfriend. And like the whole crowd is laughing at you. Like I vividly remember those moments.
You said vividly twice. Vividly is touching me. It's giving me goosebumps because vividly is important because it stands out in your mind throughout the rest of your life, those type of hands-on experiences.
Right. Wow. I'm not remembering those tests that I took. I'm thinking about those moments, those memories that I had that, will always stick with me because those are the moments really, and I'll say vividly again, I remember because those were the times when my parents were able to come to the school and see me perform or do things that, God rest my mom's soul, she can't even see me do today.
Sure. And those seeds, that are planted in those types of arts programs or performances or assemblies like you're talking about where parents get to, it's nothing like the feeling of knowing that your family, loved ones, and your friends, your peers are able to see you enact.
Right.
Reenactment is such a big deal for arts education, right? Because you have the tests, you have the quizzes, you have the measurements, but the reenactment portion is really where the magic is.
Right.
And so that's what you're talking about for, as a student, that vivid thing that stood out for you, the most poignant part that you can remember in your development stages. And now as a leader, as a dad, as a husband, you're going to look back at those moments that help shape you and help shape the lives of other kids.
Right.
And your kids, what are they into?
Yeah, my kids are into everything. So whether it's sports or even with, I was almost in shock the other day because my daughter actually brought home some paint and like some canvases. And now she's into painting everything. And so that was not something that she was involved in. That she's in middle school. Okay. And so, it's something that's, as she's gotten a little older, she's now trying to do different things. And as much as I thought one thing would be her passion, now she's moved on to something else. And the arts, to see her painting and to see how much love she puts into those paintings and giving them to me, like that's, you can't, those are memories that I'll always have.
Yeah.
Right?
And, I mean, in the statistics show that the arts really help produce, productivity and success in cognitive thinking, social and emotional development, academic success and development, enrichment portions are very important. So when you say for yourself as an elementary, middle school kid, what specific arts were the thing that you connected to the most? Was it music? Was it visual art? Was it the dancing or other portions? What was the thing that you really liked to engage in?
Yeah, for me, it was the drums. So in elementary school at Lyndhurst Elementary School.
Wildwood Parkway.
621. That's right.
Yeah.
It was 88 Lyndhurst Elementary at that time. And so, going there, I had the opportunity to play the drums. And I got so good at it that I got invited to be in part of the Twigs program. They sent me to the Baltimore School for the Arts during the summer. And I had an opportunity to play the drums there. And, it helped me to hone my craft. But, when you're in a program like that, they don't just want you to play the drums. They want you to get exposed to other things.
Sure.
So, we had an opportunity to do other things, whether it was acting or dancing. And so, for me, definitely going through a program like that and being able to play the drums and have my friends come see me,
Yeah.
and also to feel like I'm contributing, because it's not just me playing the drums. You know, you got a whole band beside you. It's other people playing the drums or the horn, and you have to really learn like how to coordinate with those individuals. And so it's not just all about you at that point. It's really how do you all learn together. And I take that to me even to today, right? Like, I can't do this on my own. It's all about a coordinated effort.
Yeah.
I'm just one person, but what can we do as a society, you know, in my current role, like to make things better for people? And so those lessons, those life lessons that I learned early on, they still help me out today.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. I mean, teamwork, when you're talking about everything you just said connects to, young people in the arts having an opportunity to work in an ensemble as a team, and shows them that there's give and take, that there is we, that there is us, that there's an ability to collaborate and come together. And so tell us just about you, Delegate Antonio Bridges. Talk about your district and how your service, and how you're seeing the need possibly for young people to continue to have arts engagement.
Yeah, so the 41st district in Baltimore City is like an inverted 7. If you look, it goes from like Roland Park to the county line, and as far south as like the Emerson Avenue corridor and everything in between, right? And so it's a really diverse area, and you've got some areas that have, all the investment in the world, and you've got some impoverished areas. And so for me, what motivates me every day is making sure that the entire district has the same resources. I can't imagine schools, us growing up, we had art classes, we had music classes. I can't imagine schools not having that. And so, how do you make sure that the resources that are so needed, not just for the schools, but for the entire district, are spread over the entire district? So it can't be one part of the area just having so much more than another part of the area. I think so much about our schools, and we've got a lot of schools in the 41st district. How do we make sure that the people, the kids that are in those schools have the proper resources like the arts? And at the same time, one school can't have more than the other, and they have to be considered community schools, because that's where, if the students aren't getting, meals or things at home, guess where they're getting it at? They're getting it at the school. And so how do we continue to enrich the students while they're at school and bring their parents in to see the performances, to make sure that they have the things that they need, to have the resources that they may not get at home? The schools are really the key to me.
Man, you know what? That's a magic thing that you're saying right now. Think about it. Baltimore's culture has long been, and it's a beautiful thing, but also a 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other, right? Because Baltimore is a city of neighborhoods, right? You can go from one neighborhood to another neighborhood a few blocks over, and the whole feel, the vibe, your safety, everything is totally different, right? And so when you talk about funds being distributed and access, everything that we're doing right now in this season for LTYC is about equitable access to the arts, ensuring that young people all in Baltimore and throughout the state for us all have the same amount of access to in-school arts programs, after school, summer. Of course, we know that there's a challenge happening right now. That's why you see me with this. Right? We're all, still social distancing and being safe. What are your thoughts right now? Just again, as a leader in the community, but also as a parent of 2 young kids that are growing and developing and have their hands on, a few artistic reaches in sports and that kind of thing. What are your thoughts now about that equitable access in lieu of the pandemic, in lieu of, social distancing, distance learning, virtual learning? Like, what are you thinking about that, man?
Yeah, so I think that we all have to be flexible at this point, right? This pandemic happened. Nobody knew that it was coming, in the way that it actually hit us. And so how do you actually be fluid and make sure that the access that's needed for students or for kids, for parents, actually continues to happen? We know in Baltimore City, there's a huge digital divide. And so how do we support the students to make sure that they have computers or hotspots or the things that they need so that they can be online? And so for me, it's thinking differently about how we do things. How do we get arts to students while they're at home, right? And so I'm a part of a couple of different programs where they're providing things virtually for students at this point. We know that schools are going to go all virtual beginning of the school year. And so now that students are going to get things virtually, how can we make sure that they still have that support at home? Because they're doing things virtually. And so if we can get them, arts things to do different arts while they're at home, so that it's not just looking at a computer the entire time.
I
right?
myself am tired of Zoom calls right now. So
I'm on a Zoom call just about every other
it's
hour.
ridiculous.
And so, how do we stop the Zoom fatigue even
There
for
we
our
go.
kids,
There we
right?
go.
And so part of that is making sure that they have other things outside of just those Zoom and computer things that they're doing.
Yeah.
And so how do we make sure that, schools can actually get, some paint at home to a student?
Yeah.
Or how can we have those virtual music lessons, where somebody's teaching you while you're, away from the computer?
Yeah.
And I also look at it like, how do we meet people where they are? Everybody's on social media right now. So you got to do an Instagram live or Facebook live or, because that's where the students are at. And so we got to change our mindset. We're in a different time, a different place. I always tell folks, I'm not working from home. I'm at home trying to work. Same thing for our students. They're not working, from home. They're at home during a pandemic trying to get the same things, the same resources that they would have if they were at a school. And so, that's the whole thinking that I think all of us need to have right now. We still have to make sure that our students, first and foremost, get the things that they need. And so let's change our mindset to make sure that we meet them where they are.
100%. I think, it's such a blessing. LTYC, we were approved the last week of March, early April, to transition all of our arts programs with the city here in Baltimore and in DC to distance learning, virtual learning. And we started looking at the trends of how many young people were actually chiming in for those programs that were approved. And it was really like a third of the kids.
Right.
So I'm concerned about the gap, the loss of educational time from March to now and then beyond, and what that'll look like. Of course, when you say meeting folks where they are, a lot of our parents, unfortunately, are struggling emotionally, right? Struggling financially during this time because, work is not plentiful, options aren't plentiful, or they're just nervous, or they're concerned about, different things that may impact their household. So making sure they're very much engaged in the distance learning, again, is few and far between. We don't have the numbers, didn't show for the pandemic. And I'm hoping that things will be different as August is coming in soon, as we're getting back to the new school year, where we can have some new conversations about how to meet those parents and families where they are in the community. What are your thoughts about that? Just making sure that parents have the support, because I know if I'm itching on my Zoom call and the kid is not really with it, then you have this parent trying to still make things happen in the household and take care of that child that normally they're not with all day long, right? 24/7. The best parents ain't with their kids 24/7.
Right.
All day, they're going somewhere.
Right.
You were just talking earlier, we were talking about play dates and trying to keep your daughter engaged with her friends socially, so her social morale is still developing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, and you said it, right? We've got until August to get this right. And that's not a lot of time. And so right now, how do we account for those things that you were talking about? And so, I think we still have a little ways to go and really getting there to that point.
Yeah.
But it's going to take some resources. It's going to take people coming together and making sure that, access for just, basic things like the internet is more plentiful in especially areas of high concentrations of poverty. Because, we know that, especially in Baltimore City, there's a certain percentage of students that we never even reached at the end of the school year. And so, while the school system is really doing a good job at trying to reach out to those individuals, what was it that was holding them back from actually getting on the internet? Whether it was not having a parent in the home to make sure that they were having that internet access, not having internet access at all, or not having, just a laptop to get on the internet. And the fact that some parents still have to go out and work, and you may not be having a parent there that's saying, hey, Tony, I need you to wake up. It's time for you to get on this class, and you got this Zoom. So, we've got to put different processes in place to make sure that, our students are able to learn. And at the same time, like you said, the parents have the resources that they need to be able to maintain their job and ensure that their kids have the things that they need. It's a tough process. I can't say that there's a, one thing, one sweeping idea that's going to make that happen. But I do think that we've got a little bit of time to try and put those processes in
we
place.
Do. We do.
And so we've got to be really strategic about how we do things moving forward, especially with the time that we have students being on those calls, because at the same time, like you mentioned, I'm working from home right now. Yeah. And so when my kids are on a computer and I'm on a computer, like our internet access ain't that good. So it's like I'm going in and out, they're going in and out, and we're trying to figure out like, how we can all maintain and make sure that we're focusing and paying attention on that call.
Yeah.
But it's all about making sure that we put those processes in place, have the proper resources, and think outside of the box about the things that we need to do moving forward to ensure that our students and our parents are able to maintain during this time.
What I know is, that I want to say, especially to you is, continue to do the wonderful job that you're doing. We're all watching you. We're all, supporting and rooting for you to be successful in all of your decision making for your life, for your family, and for the city of Baltimore and the district that you serve. I know in the Park Heights community, we recently were able to collaborate with the Park Heights Renaissance to, do some distributing of love and goods into the community. We want to continue to do more things like that. We know that unfortunately during this time, all the bad numbers in our families are going up, right? At home, domestic violence numbers went up. Folks with, mental and behavioral health needs went up, right? All these things, the trauma, different things that are, really what we try to protect our kids and families from. Unfortunately, when you're in close quarters with folks that you may love, right? The time that's spent there breeds a lot of different things. And so we want to just continue as LTYC to be a part of everything that you're doing and in your district to, ensure that we're communicating and connecting with families and kids and partnering. Because collaboration is the way we're going to make it out. We got to stick together. Like we all down here together. We got to love each other. And this is a good time for us to continue figuring out how we can come together to serve the city. So
I think that's the only way this is going to work, right? Yeah. We got to have those nonprofits, the state, the city. We don't have all the answers. People in the community don't have all the answers. But there are a number of individuals, resources like LTYC that can contribute and help. And if we all come together and make it happen for, just one part of the community, then, that's where it all starts.
I love it, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
Yes, thanks for coming here today.
Yep.